Welcome to Uncommon Courtesy.
We give you the courtesy of conversation
That's uncommonly spoke of.
I'm D-Mac.
I'm Wesley.
And this is the show. Yo, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell button. Thanks to all our listeners. Shout out to our sponsors. Doc Loves the Kids. Crime Scene Seasoning. Helps out the unfortunate. 100% of the proceeds go to a nonprofit.
Y'all make sure y'all go on that website and get you guys a box of this. It helps out the community around here. He also has apparel as well. docslovethekids.org.
And it's, I guess Donald Trump's had a change of tune, huh?
Change of heart, man. It's crazy. Trump says he wants to grant green cards to foreign graduates of U.S. colleges. In other election news, Donald Trump has proposed granting green cards to foreign nationals who graduate from U.S. colleges, in a major departure from his usual anti-immigrant rhetoric. Trump made the remarks after being asked on a podcast about staffing U.S. companies. Following the comments, Trump's team issued a statement reassuring his supporters that he still plans to impose the most aggressive immigration policies in U.S. history to exclude all communist, radical Islamist, Hamas supporters, American haters, and public charges. Well, I'm not really sure what the hell that means. You know, just the whole last part. You go from one angle to the other. It's kind of weird how you jump from one end of the spectrum right back to where you really stand. So are you trying to pander and get both? Trump's not too good at pandering.
No, he's trying to get them from everybody and stuff. He's like, hey, black people, we're all the same. We go to jail and commit felonies.
Platinum plan. You know what I'm saying?
Give him the platinum plan. You know, I mean, that's a big departure from what he was doing before, because, you know, they was locking up people from the border and then separating the kids that seemed to get lost. Mm-hmm. A lot of people forgot that. A lot of kids went missing.
Yep.
You know,
under not only his administration, but also under Obama's administration too. A lot of kids went missing as well. But it just seems to me like this to me is like the most aggressive pandering he's done in a while, to say he wants to grant people who graduate from college green cards. Like, what's the difference between them and asylum seekers?
Or that one black guy that be in his crowd. Look at my black person.
But exactly, blacks for Trump. That's some crazy shit.
No, most of the blacks for Trumps are like first or second generation immigrant blacks. You know what I'm saying? Those ones didn't come into America until after the civil rights movement. And then they came in, and then they had to be cool because there was like foreigners. And I guess under Reagan kind of made it cool. He's like, nah, y'all can stay. You're good. And that's when they started like committing crimes and doing all kind of crazy stuff. So those people don't really represent us. They're not foundational black Americans. They're immigrants from like Nigeria and the Bahamas and places like that.
Who haven't been here. There's a lot of
they don't have the same lineage as us.
A lot of people who don't understand this system and don't understand how it truly works. That's how they feel. And I feel like there's a lot of black Americans who also just, you know, probably want to vote for him for whatever reasons they have.
Yeah.
It's kind of up to them. But what I'm looking at here in this whole thing is that Trump made the remarks after being asked on a podcast about staffing U.S. companies. That kind of goes back to what? The whole entire thing about why we're allowing immigrants into this country, fertility rates, all these different things we talked about.
I think they just want to let them people in. I mean, like, say, if you're a college graduate, that makes sense. But then they also can pay you pennies. You know, like Americans, we think about it. Like, that's why they don't have factories here. Some lady was like, oh, you know, I was like, you guys shouldn't light off fireworks. They're like saying you shouldn't light off fireworks. Or I was saying that because veterans, you know what I'm saying? Like the people that have been to war, it makes you feel like in a war zone. She's like, well, my brother's a veteran and he doesn't do it because he doesn't want to buy Chinese goods. I'm like, so you don't shop for 80% of the stuff that's in this country? Because China makes about 80%. That Taiwan.
I don't see it. I don't see it as far as like them just, you know, they understand that we need people coming into this country. He's just doing it because he's pandering to his base.
Yeah, he just wants the votes or whatnot, and it's not looking good for him.
You can't pay people any less than what your minimum wage. You might be able to bring in more minimum wage jobs and have them kind of go for it. But if you get caught with that, like I guess some kids got caught in a factory like in Texas or something like that, or some other state.
Well, they passed laws. I think it was like the Midwest, like somewhere in the Midwest, they passed laws where kids can go to work now. You can like 14, 15, or 13 get a job.
Minimum wage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's just kind of, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's nowhere in America where no one's in it. But it's very small percentage of people out here that are not getting, you know, the government minimum wage, whatever that state minimum wage, whatever you want to call it. So they're going to have to still pay them that. But at the same time, you got these people. I mean, how many non-skilled, you know, most non-skilled jobs are going to go to AI and robots anyways.
Yeah, pretty soon. They even said the driving jobs will go to robots and machines within about 10, 15 years.
And so, I mean,
and it's not looking good for Trump anyways, because, I mean, I'm going to read this part of this article really quick, you know, that adds on to it's like the Border Patrol reported arrests are down 25% since Biden announced the new asylum restrictions. You know, say the number of arrests of Border Patrol agents of people illegally crossing into the United States fell in May to the third lowest of any month during Biden's presidency. While preliminary figures released Thursday show encounters with migrants falling even more in the roughly 2 weeks since the president announced the new rule restricting asylum. So basically all that stuff Trump told y'all not to do, Biden went and did it himself. Now Trump's sitting there with egg on his face.
It's funny, man, that they said 25%.
That's huge.
Drop. That's huge. I mean, and it's also probably with more cooperation from Mexico.
Yeah.
Because at first Mexico's like, man, we don't care. We're letting everybody up in this motherfucker. We don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Who, what, where, when, or why. We letting everybody up in here. If y'all don't give us something, we letting them in the country. And so I think there's probably been more cooperation because they understand right now with the way Trump is talking when he's talked about sending the military into Mexico to fight to combat cartels. You know what I mean? Mexico's like, man, that's war.
That's
You're
war.
asking us, to start a war with us pretty
Yeah.
much. So do I want this weird motherfucker? Because basically he's going to be starting deporting people. Mexico is doing good for itself right now. They don't want an influx of 30 million people.
You know how bad it would be here if Donald Trump sent in the army to go fight the cartels? So many people would be coming off drugs and dying and committing crimes to get their drugs. We have a smooth operation going here. All right. That a lot of people do not realize. America likes to get high.
That's real deal.
That's real deal shit. They
true.
like to get high. And you don't want to mess up that balance of people getting high. You may see them people wigging out on. What do you think's going to happen to all the people leaning on the streets, not bothering you? All right. When they can't get the lean on, they're going to get the armed robbery and mean on.
Bigger than that, man, it'll destroy the economy, man. There's a lot of people who like
the police won't have nothing to do in the black community.
Period. And that goes for jails. Like probably 80% of the people who are in jail for drug crimes.
Oh yeah, dead ass.
Some type of drug crime, whether it's just possession, addiction. You know what I'm saying? Like theft, all that. That's what most of the people who are in jail for. We're paying $40,000 a year.
Cops gonna start arresting people for jaywalking on the sidewalk.
Yeah, we're paying $40,000 a year for somebody to sit in jail who has a drug problem. We could put into we could probably put into rehab. Who probably didn't even commit any kind of a violent crime. A petty crime. I'd rather put him on a work crew somewhere.
No, I went to court one day to go show support for a friend, and everybody in there was for drug charges. They had like possession, and I go outside, talk to the sheriff. I'm like, "Yo, man, I've been in here a couple years. Where are all the criminals?" And he looked me in the face. He said, "Look, man, 80% of the people in jail right now are in there because they're on drugs. It's the only reason because they got caught with dope."
I think if Portland would have done their law a little bit differently, had they not just been like, we're going to just decriminalize it, had they done something where, okay, we're not just straight up decriminalize it, we may make it so that you have to go through programs.
Yeah, exactly. If they caught you, like, we caught you high, you have to go into treatment.
If you mess up this treatment, then you go into jail or something like that.
Yeah.
Like something where they got to be a consequence. Because look at California. They took away all the consequences for robbing. Now they're kicking in every motherfucking jeweler's door they can get into. They're robbing people in broad daylight. You can't do that. I'm not that kind of progressive. I'm not the kind of progressive who's going to lie to you and be like, there should be decriminalize everything. I don't believe that.
Well, let's keep it real. Why they did that? Because the demographic of criminals and drug addicts had changed. Before, when it was black folks in the 80s and the early 90s, hey, lock them all up, throw away the key. You know, now the demographic is your cousins and your sisters robbing your farm homes and stealing your cars. They want to make sure you don't have to do much time. And they got upset because they had to give Tommy the same time they given Tyrone because they got mandatory minimums.
That felony. And
so that's why your criminals are running crazy.
How was it a second? Was it what they call there's three prongs when it comes to like drug crimes, right? It was a third tier. What was it? I know marijuana was a first.
Marijuana was up there. Oh, you mean the category, not the scheduling.
So yeah, schedule. You know what I'm saying? I know marijuana was a Schedule 1. That's like the worst one.
Well, marijuana was Schedule 1 because the lumber industry realized that hemp could be used for a lot of stuff.
Marijuana.
And so that's the only reason they made marijuana legal. Because they lobbied for it.
Fentanyl was like what?
So the second. It was on the second. It's still there. It's still there.
This thing killed more people than the plague. I'm fucking with you, but seriously though, it seems like
no, it has. It has killed more people than the plague.
I mean? So, but marijuana, I don't know anybody who died from marijuana overdose.
I've heard of one guy in the jail, but that was weird how he got the weed. You could die from like the oils, but no one's smoking. You know what's happening when you smoke a bunch of weed? You eat a bunch of snacks and you pass out.
I don't think it was. I think it had to be laced.
It was like synthetic weed or some shit like that. It
must have been something else, man. Because there is no way in hell you die from the weed. But But on another note,
you in here for some marijuana?
Speaking about weed, some say Maryland's mass marijuana pardons don't go far enough. Maryland Governor Wes Moore is pardoning 175,000 people who have low-level convictions related to marijuana, the governor announced Monday. To date, it is one of the most expansive absolutions by state for this type of crime. The barriers to everything from employment to education to the ability to buy a home and be able to start gaining wealth for your family. All of these things are being blocked, Moore told NPR. By doing this, what is the largest state misdemeanor cannabis pardon in the history of this country, essentially what it's doing is we want to make second chances actually mean something.
Well, yeah, it's crazy because they locked the most black people up for marijuana, but you can't get into the marijuana business. This is a good thing. They did that here in Washington. I remember when they passed the law, people were getting out of jail. They were like, bro, they gave me my weed back. Like coming out the county. I was like, for real? I was like, you got some right now? No, I smoked it. But, it's like, it's what they should do. It's weird watching, I watch videos online and people be making jokes. They're making skits like they're the dope man, bringing people weed and selling it to them. People still catching weed charges. And I'm just like, I remember back in the day, if you got caught with some marijuana, your life was over. Yeah, it was like that was a bad charge to get. Nowadays, it's like, it's nothing. But I see other states that just, they keep criminalizing it.
They allowed marijuana was used to basically help destroy the black community. They said this is during the war on drugs. They said that for the hippies and for the blacks, they knew this was going to give them probable cause to run into your house. They didn't care. It could be like, oh, do you smell marijuana? I've dealt with things like this in myself, where a person will walk up to your car and the first thing they say is that marijuana I smell? And I know damn well there's no weed in this car. I know for a fact. I'm like, there ain't been no weed in this car. There's not any weed. This is a rental car, matter of fact. I'll be
damn. Cop walks up to me and says, I smell marijuana. You should have washed your hands when you got up here.
And then he's gonna beat you. I was in the middle of nowhere. That wouldn't have flown too well that way.
Nah, I've already been beat by the police one time for doing nothing.
It took me out in the woods. Even the woods of the desert.
I ain't getting out the car.
Killed me. Whatever you want to say, man. Trust me. You're gonna get out the car. They tell you get out the car. You're in the middle of the desert.
Pedal to the metal. If we got to start, and I told you, hey, I cooperate with the police. I've grown up with police officers. But if he comes up to me and he's on that, we about to hold court right here. I guess we about to hold court right here. You're going to see me on the T-shirt smiling.
That's different. I don't know if you're going to make it to the T-shirt. We see what happens, man, when anything does happen. But this pardon is.
I have no issues with law enforcement. Like I'm saying, I'm saying I know good cops. I grew up with police officers. I'm not saying they're all good, but I'm just saying like I'm not.
I don't advise anybody to hold court with the police anywhere because you're not going to win.
Yeah, no, of course you're not going to win. You play Grand Theft Auto, the cops don't let you win no more.
But I do feel like,
and enough stars. You get 5 stars, it's over.
I do feel like, man, this needs to be a nationwide thing right here, man. They need to start paying back like this. I mean, just for you destroy entire communities with something so small as marijuana. We all know. I don't know one community marijuana has destroyed by just by the drug itself. It's been destroyed by them allowing them to criminalize it the way that they have.
It's kind of sad. It's like karma, kind of. You know what I'm saying? They used marijuana and the crack epidemic to help destroy the black community. And everyone's like, lock them up. They should be criminals. But now it's happening to these people's family members and their cousins. Now they're trying to have sympathy. But you have to realize you can't have sympathy because you're having sympathy and the criminals are running over you. You know?
And you look at it like this, too, just to clean this up really quickly. I mean, they know that this was such an innocuous drug that now they have open air. By now, we call open air. They have stores to call dispensaries we can go to and go buy it now. They'll never do that with fentanyl. I guarantee you, they'll never be like, hey.
No, they just have safe injection sites.
You know what I mean? That's different.
No, that's not different. Why can't I sell heroin and fentanyl in front of the safe injection site? I should have a safe dope dealer site. They should have a guard out there that protects me to sell them this legal dope in case they OD. They can go inside this building. You can't you can't make it a crime for me to sell the dope, but it's okay for them to smoke and inject the dope. I want to get paid too, tax free, like a billionaire.
I totally feel you, man. I understand.
Dead ass though. I'm just saying, like, you can't. Hey, you get to walk around with the drug and go in this place, shoot up, pass out, wake up, steal some mints, and take off.
They not ever gonna let you sell dope in front of anywhere, really, man.
Then why can I bring
right now? It's not happening. Maybe later in the future, man, when shit gets really bad, when AI takes over everything.
I'm gonna ask my Caucasian friend to test that out because I know I ain't gonna beat it. Like,
big mistake. Putin warned South Korea against sending deadly weapons to Ukraine. Days after signing a historic treaty with North Korea, Russian President Vladimir Putin warned South Korea that sending lethal weapons to Ukraine would be a big mistake. The proclamation from the Russian leader came after Seoul announced that it would consider arming Ukraine in the ongoing war. If South Korea supplies weapons to Ukraine, it would not be the answer. I hope they won't do it. It would be a big mistake, Putin said at a press conference in Vietnam. Hanoi was the final destination in his 2-nation trip to Asia, the first stop being Pyongyang, North Korea. So, I mean,
after he left too, they said South Korean soldiers were forced to shoot at a dozen North Korean troops who crossed the border yesterday in an unsettling flurry of activity hours after Vladimir Putin left.
They're getting more bold, man. They're becoming emboldened because these guys, they've already been shooting, like you said, they've been shooting rockets over Japan, doing all kinds of extra stuff they're doing. And now Putin's basically saying, he made the remark recently, like, hey, since you guys want to arm Ukraine, I'm thinking about arming other countries who don't like the West. This is one of the countries that he looks at.
Why not?
They're already a nuclear country. They already have nuclear weapons. And at the same time, I know South Korea is one of the top ranked military arms producers in the world. So if they were to help out with arming Ukraine, that would be a great thing. Yeah. You know, I mean, then you got China in the region, which is also going to make it difficult on them. They're going to pull some strings, but North Korea has emboldened North Korea.
Yeah,
greatly.
Well, Russia's got a lot going on. You know, they're coming after South Korea. They're having issues with America. They have it right here. You know, Russians have begun to disrupt Swedish satellite networks. This happened after the Scandinavian country became a NATO member, according to a letter from the Swedish Post and telecom authorities. I mean, like Vladimir Putin, man, he knows he's sick. He has something going on with him. Not just sick in the head, he's sick. So, you know, after a while, man, you sit there and you about to die almost. You like, where's my name going to be in the history books? Where am I going to be? Am I going to be a Stalin? Am I going to be a Hitler? Am I going to be a George Washington? You know, or am I going to be some random dude that nobody remembers from 10 years ago?
I mean, at the end of the day,
who you want to be, 50 Cent or T-Pain?
I understand what you're saying right there. I feel like Putin's going to be. I mean, he's done a lot to try and regain what Russia lost, but he's who's going to come after him if they were to get rid of Putin right now. I thought about that the other day. If they were to kill him right now, who does he have next? Medvedev. I think he has him next. That's it. But no one respects him because he's pretty much like his flunky.
Yeah.
He's done that to the detriment of himself, but also to the favor of himself.
Well, people probably didn't respect Putin at first until he started killing people that didn't.
But he comes from the KGB. He kind of has the background of like, we already know what he's about.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's where that respect may have come from with him. But like I say, I don't know. It's one of those things that you kind of almost gotta look at and say, you know, what are we gonna do about it? How are we gonna deal with this situation with him? Because he's just in Vietnam. As we know, we already went to war with Vietnam before, but they're becoming like our next China. Right now, Vietnam's producing some of the most goods in the entire world right now. Everyone's going to Vietnam and buying goods from them like they were China. They're the next cheap producers of goods. And so with Vietnam, we have a negative history with them, but we have a very good right now current relationship with them. So now we sent over an envoy to Vietnam to kind of like, because Putin just left there, so we're trying to go over there and, you know.
That's crazy. Hey, I know we had a little funk 30 years ago, but
let's fix it. Let's see if we can fix it.
Let's see what's going down. You know, it's crazy. I learned also that the DMZ demilitarized zone between South Korea and North Korea is the most heavily mined area in the world.
You don't even want to walk through there.
Not at all. And they're about to set more mines there.
Tell you why they do it more than, of course, they're doing it to prevent each other from walking over there. But I think North Korea, they just don't want their people leaving. They know they fucked up in North Korea. It's bad. You know what I mean?
Supposedly. Dennis Rodman went there and said it was cool.
Because what they show you, the king's always going to have it cool. Now, this is what they're saying.
Don't they do that here in America? They have the Olympics. They brush all the homeless. Look, Joe Biden came to Seattle and they got rid of all the homeless people and cleaned up the streets.
Let's keep it real, bro. We know what it looked like, Ryan. Around your house, look nice around your house. Around my
nope, nice. I live in the ghetto. I live on Montgomery. I live in the worst streets here. Someone stole my pillow while I was sleeping. That's how bad it is.
I'm just saying, we live in a decent place. I'm talking about over there.
No, I do not. I live in the worst area you can find here in Seattle. You know what
they traded? I think it was like 1.2 million rounds of munitions, like bombs and shit like that. 500,000 bombs and like 1.2 million rounds of ammunition total to Russia for fucking I think it was like for raw scrap material so they can build more shit and food, my guy. They're trading for food because their people are over there starving. This is what's been going on for a long time. There was a long.
Don't we trade for food?
Huh?
Didn't we just report on the avocados not coming through? We trade for food?
Nah, bro. You ain't. I don't know America trade anybody.
People starving all around the world. Why we just gonna put it in North Korea?
I'm not saying they're the only people starving.
People get shot in America all the time. Why we just put it in Chicago? Bro.
You know who else is hungry right now? Hunger, death, homelessness, orphanhood, the unimaginable toll of the Israel's war on Gaza. It's children. And As Israel's unrelenting assault on Gaza stretches into its 9th month, experts are warning of the compounding effects of the war on children. Children represent some 16,000 of the more than 37,000 Palestinians killed by Israel since October 7th. They are also some of the most vulnerable to disease and the worsening hunger crisis. With thousands malnourished and facing death, another 17,000 children have lost one or both parents. Meanwhile, over 600,000 Palestinian students have been out of school for more than 8 months. Schools have been turned into shelters for displaced Gazans, have been regularly destroyed by Israel, including UNRWA's building in Khan Younis, which was hit by an Israeli airstrike Thursday. This is like, I didn't think about that when you really look at it. I didn't think about these kids that have been out of school for this long, how far behind they're going to be. There's not going to be school for probably a couple years to come. Not anything that's going to like resemble real schooling where they can actually grow and mature. What do you think you're creating? You're creating a terrorist. I'm not saying
I don't
even want to call them terrorists. You're creating a freedom fighter at that point in time.
Yeah, just like not compare them to animals, but that's why like the elephants in Africa don't like humans. They'll rush them because the elephants live so long. They watch their parents get murdered by poachers. So everyone to them is just a villain to them. So they rush the cars and all that stuff. And that's what you're just breeding. It's like you can't look at these people when they grow up and be like, oh, he's a terrorist. No, this is what you created.
Why are you like this? And his parents got killed. His friend got killed.
He's like, my parents got killed and I watched my sister starve to death.
He hasn't had any chance of schooling. We got people here we're talking about, we don't school them well enough and they're murdering people. What do you think you're going to get out of a kid who doesn't have a future? You've destroyed everything that's around him, period. You can't learn, so he can't become they're going to have a lack of educated, populace, period, over there. They're going to have a lack of doctors, lawyers, nurses. Everything that you need to build a society is going to be a lack of, or they're not going to be trained as well as they should be. There's just no way. You blew up most of the schools and colleges there, universities. You did it on purpose.
Yeah.
You did it on purpose, man. And then they're going to try to get Netanyahu today said something about basically he's like, well, I'd like to bring in like a league of Islam or of Arab states to help govern Gaza.
Yeah,
you got no real plan. So you don't want. So you say I want the people of Gaza to govern Gaza. Like, man, that's the same thing. Just they put Hamas in there because they probably didn't like what you guys was doing to them before this. You guys was killing them by the boatloads. So
taking their land. Like, I mean, it's just a sad stuff going on over there. I got a couple things I want to report on Israel too, but I have to wait until we have a little bit more information there. I don't want to be petty Flacco again. Supposedly
poetic
Flacco. But some atrocities are coming out of there right now that we're going to have to wait till next show so I can just dig a little deeper. But it's some stuff going to make you sad and think about who we're really dealing with here. But we're going to keep you updated on everything as we go. This is Uncommon Courtesy. We're going to see you next time.